If you are trying to live on poetry, that means you're going to have to create something that other people want, need, seek benefit from, and believe that can bring real change to their lives or can help them become what they want to become. But part of that process may involve them getting in touch with you to talk with you just to make sure that everything they hope can happen can happen. Well, today we're going to be talking a little bit about that process. What do you need to do in that sales call? The mindset that you need to have and the approach you need to have in order to leave that conversation with everyone feeling comfortable that they're about to make the right decision for them. Welcome, guys, to the Poet Business Institute, where we do workshops to help you live on poetry and to guide you in this process. There is me. What's up, guys? My name is Jeff with an O. I'm a full poet, and these are 5 approaches that I use every time a new client comes to me, especially for my communication program, because in my communication program, what I do is I help people improve how they express themselves to the world. Very often, we're using poems as foundational materials to talk about concepts and tools and techniques that you can use with communication. And that process typically involves some sort of a sales call because, look, things aren't cheap. Services aren't cheap. When you get coaching, there's a time commitment, there's a money commitment, there's an energy commitment, and I understand 100%. So I want to make sure everyone's on the right page. They're a good fit for me, I'm a good fit for them, and we're going to be able to help them get what they want. So the first thing that when you're doing this sales call that I would really encourage you to be thinking about is I want you to really be asking as many questions as possible. I know that they called you, and so you think, oh, well, they come to this call because they have questions for me. But no, you need to have a lot of questions to ask them. And you may be wondering, well, what kinds of questions do I actually need to ask? Well, the second thing that I really think you need to be focusing on, and that's going to answer that question too, is we need to figure out the problem. What is really the problem? Because let's approach this from my communication business perspective. Okay. People come to me because they're interested in pronunciation, communication, accent things. They're not just aware of that randomly one day, like waking up in the morning and be like, you know what? I should schedule a call. This guy does communications coaching. I should talk to him. That's not what's happening. They've been aware of this problem probably for a long time. So our job during the call is to figure out why today. Why did they suddenly change their behavior? Because people do not just change their behavior randomly. There's a reason for it. Maybe someone made a comment. Maybe they saw someone else get something that they wanted. Maybe they got a bad review or they saw something that they didn't like. Maybe they're getting some bad feedback when they're talking to other people. Whatever the reason is, there's something that happened, and it probably happened recently. And it's the thing that shakes them to act. They've been aware for the problem for a while, but it's only recently something happened that triggered. And this is specifically for a sales call where people reach out to you and they book time on your calendar to meet. By the way, if you're not sure how to set up a calendar for yourself, you want to check out this video here. It's just going to walk through the process for doing that. So they've reached out to you. They've initiated. So we're trying to figure out, why did they initiate? And you want to spend time here because I can promise you what's going to happen during the call is, you'll introduce yourself. You'll talk about, hey, so why are we here? They'll say, oh, well, I've been thinking about doing my communication stuff, doing my pronunciation stuff, whatever your art business is about, your poetry business is about. They'll say that. And you'll say, great, what made you realize that this was a problem? And then they may say like, oh, well, again, I'll focus on my communications business. They may say, well, I've studied the second language for a while. I've always known that I'm not pronouncing things the way I want. And I say, that's great. That's great. Well, what happened recently? And they may have a hard time remembering. Okay. So we may need to go back a little bit further. So what we'll do, I may walk them through, okay, so you scheduled a call with me. When did you schedule this call? You scheduled it last week. Okay. Did anything happen last week? And they may say yes or no. And we may take it a little bit further. It's like, okay, what are some things that happened recently? Like everything going okay at work? Did you meet anyone new recently? Did you get a performance review? I'm just kind of going through the list of very common situations that lead people to come to me. And the reason we're doing this, the reason we're asking all these questions is because if we can actually find the specific problem, we can actually see if what they say they want is what they really want. Because, for instance, I do a lot of pronunciation and communications coaching, but for some people on that first call, what we discover is they don't really have a communications problem or a pronunciation problem. I mean, there's things I could certainly work on with them, but that's not really the problem. The problem is that maybe they're just not used to public speaking, or maybe they're not used to talking to team members. Maybe they're just not used to, they just moved to a new country and they're just trying to feel more comfortable, you know? And so I could teach them pronunciation stuff, but by asking and getting the answers to all these different questions, what I can do is I can realize that, oh, you don't actually, you're not really worried about the thing that I've created programming around. There's things that my program will do indirectly to help you, but there's probably faster, better, more efficient other programs out there that we could find for you from other people that I could refer you to. And this is important because when we have a business, we're not a business for everything. I could theoretically change my business and create some sort of like comfort program to help people feel more comfortable, but that's not really what I'm interested in. I'm interested in teaching communication and accent pronunciation. All my services are built around that. So part of having a business is being narrow, so that way you can tell people, hey, you're a perfect fit for this. No, you're not a perfect fit for this, but these other people are. Let's send you to them. This is one of the reasons why I don't like when artists compete against artists, because there really is no competition. My services are so specific that there really isn't anyone else doing what I'm doing. So when I refer people to other people, I don't view them as competitors. I say, hey, these people are actually better matches for what it is that you want. So this all gets to the third thing. And again, we said we need to ask questions, we need to find the problem, and then the third thing is we're trying to find the trigger for what initiated the call, because that's going to be the thing. And very often it's going to feel very minor to them. It's going to be like, oh, my best friend actually just made a comment to me about my accent. But it could also be larger, like, oh, I just found out last week that I didn't get promoted because they were worried about how I would work with North American clients. You know, sometimes it's going to be a bigger trigger, but a lot of times it's actually just a seemingly small trigger that we can then be like, oh, so that's why we're here. Once you have an idea that triggered, then you can go deeper on the fourth step, the implications. So if the implications are that you lost out on a promotion, well, then we want to improve that so that way the next time that you're eligible, you won't miss out. So we're talking about, potentially pretty big stakes, right? This is your livelihood. This is your job. You could have a much greater opportunity potentially, right? But the implications may also just be smaller. Like, hey, maybe you help people put books out into the world. But they just don't know how to do it. Well, the implications there are pretty large, because you're going to go from not knowing how to put a book out to knowing how to put a book out and self-publish. That's great. You're going to go from maybe help people create workshops. You're going to go from not knowing how to create a workshop to running your first workshop, whatever it may be. But you're going to see what the implications are, because, for instance, in the case of the workshop, maybe if they're able to run workshops, they're going to be able to create their own business around workshops. Or maybe that's going to be something that they can then put on their resume. So then it's going to make them feel more accomplished, or it's going to make other people see them as being more credible. Try to spend some time, figure out not only what they want and why they want it, but what are the implications of it when they get it. This is a business term that refers to the desired future state. So basically, when we're having these two conversations, we're trying to spend a lot of time in two areas. We're trying to spend a lot of time in the problem, which is probably going to take the first half of your conversation. And then we're going to spend a lot of time in the future, the desired future state. What are all the advantages? And in fact, the final step is, once you have the implications, like I said, linger there. Think even big picture. How will finding the solution to their problem change their life? So, for instance, in the case of maybe you help people create their first workshops. They create their first workshops. They look more credible. What happens if they look more credible? Well, now maybe they can apply to some sort of job. Or maybe now they're going to be able to get access to panels or be invited to new opportunities and things like that. And then maybe they'll be able to quit their full-time job to then dedicate to their art, whatever it may be. But you want to spend some time, again, not just understanding what the implications are, but then imagining that they get those implications, and then what comes after that, and what is their future. So when you're having your next sales call, or a future sales call with a potential client, these are the things that you want to be considering to make that call even more successful for you, but more importantly, for them.